And we're live. What's going on, y'all? It's Logan, man, here with EJ. Welcome back to a brand new show. SwampCast, baby. We're here. We're here. EJ, how we feeling on this beautiful, what is it, Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday, man.
I know it's Tuesday. Everybody's back at work,
Yeah.
kind of sucks to come back after the holidays, but it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. And if you're John Sumrall, hey, it's time to, you know, put this roster together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, the portal's going crazy, not only for the Florida Gators, but all around the entire country, man. There's guys committing, decommitting, flipping their commitments, getting the bag thrown at them last minute. Kenny Minchie. It's getting insane, man. Hearts are getting broken, and that's not the case, though, for the Florida Gators because JADAN BAUGH just announced, as of, I think, an hour ago, that he is returning to the Florida Gators in 2026, man. What's your instant reaction? I jumped up and down, dude. I ran into the living room. I told my dad, I was like, holy shit, he's coming back. I think this is a massive, massive pickup. I know we were confident that he was going to stay at first, but then Horns 24/7 said that, he was expected to go in the portal and all this stuff started getting thrown around, EJ. So what was your instant reaction, man? And how do you feel about Mr. JADAN BAUGH coming back, baby?
Wait, can we? How do you do like an applause? Uh, you see my little? Do you
There's
see
your
that?
Gators. There's your
Do you
Gators.
see that?
Love it.
You remember like during COVID, you had to do like the virtual
Yeah.
celebration?
Yep. That's how
Like
you
that's literally
graduated in 2020. Yeah.
right. That's literally what we had to do. Yeah, this is huge. And for me personally, it wasn't because it was the running back position. I don't think you necessarily build championship around the position of running back, but Jaden Baugh is the best player that on your team last year, and he represents a type of attitude and culture, right? And getting him back was absolutely the number one uh, task for Summerall, and he delivered. So this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Now it's can you get an offensive line that was, do what Miami did. Get an offensive line that can knock people off the line and have Jaden Ball back there and see what we got. It would have been a disaster if he would have left though, because Jacoby Jackson's gone, Webb transfer, Katie Daniels out of here. Gasper, he never played. So we would have been like Texas. It would have been a disaster. But with him coming back, we got the Cincinnati kid. Now we're going to be running people over. I mean, there's a thin line between you can't run the ball at all, and now you're running people over. So this is great.
Yeah, and that's two running backs now that like you said, we got in one day, and you have Duke Clark, which is the third running back, right? He hasn't entered the transfer portal just yet, but a guy that to keep an eye on. I think that'd be a great depth piece, and I think we still need
Yep.
probably one more. I mean, I don't. We didn't really sign a running back in this last class because I think we had that 4-star running back that we missed out on. That was the only commit that left, which is kind of biting us in the ass now because all these guys have entered the portal. But you do have that true freshman. Is it Justin Williams? I think or not? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a guy coming in. Committed to the Florida Gators. We true freshman this year. He's a athlete, so they throw him out at receiver, but he also goes out in the running back position, EJ. Really fast and quick, agile guy, but also lowers his shoulder. And so, I think he mainly played running back in high school. And so that's also a guy you can throw in that position group if that's really, a need and if that's a necessity at some point. So I'm pretty happy with that position group. And by the way, I made an entire depth chart, hypothetical depth chart for this upcoming season. We're going to dive into all that based on who is currently signed, who has, said that they're coming back even if they're not signed, and guys who have not entered the transfer portal. And so we're going to dive into all that. Reform Salt, what's going on, man? Ball, Pryor, Duke might be the best backfield in the country this year. Probably the best for Florida since Graham, Gillespie, and Carlton. Yeah, in 2001. I wasn't alive for that. EJ, you might know a little more about
Oh
that running
yeah, I
back
know,
room
I
than me.
know, I know. So Graham, that's Miles Graham's dad,
I
and
do know Graham.
Gillespie was pretty good. Rand Carthon was also a really good war number 33. But yeah, Pryor was, Cincinnati didn't give him the Jaden Baugh treatment to get him over 1,000 yards. He was like 940 yards this season at Cincinnati. Um, 4.2 yards a carry. So, I mean, this guy was incredible. He also um, got almost 300 yards receiving out of the backfield this year. So, and at PFF, I think has had him over 75 rating, which is above average. Um, just an incredible get behind BAUGH. So, Reform Salt's right. This is, I mean, you went from like total uncertainty who's going to be in the backfield to like all but like if he leaves that we're screwed to now you have the best, potentially the best running backfield that you've had in years.
Yeah.
So just crazy.
No, it's dirty, and let me just pull up the depth chart for you guys right now, just so you can see what me and
Yeah,
EJ
let's take a look
see
at it.
on our screen. So here you guys go. So I know it's to the left side of the screen, but there you guys go right there, man. And here's another thing too, EJ. And while you guys taking a look at it, by the way, that number next to their names those are the transfers, and that's their PFF grade. So just so you guys take a look at that while I'm yapping over here. I think the reason Jaden Ball was such such an important get and retention, in my opinion, EJ, is because you have Aaron Philo coming in at quarterback. And yeah, Aaron Philo, he's solid. I think that he's going to be a kind of a game manager kind of guy. He's going to be more of Mertz in the sense of he's obviously way more athletic, but in the sense of, he's going to just be consistent, right? They're not going to ask a lot of him. I personally don't think. He has a really good receiver room around him. We're going to get into all that. And now I think bringing back Ball just takes so much off of his shoulders as a quarterback coming in, EJ, first year in this brand new stadium with these new colors on. Now, obviously, you have the same offensive coordinator, so he's used to this system. But I think Ball was just such an important retention for that reason. And now when you pair that with Evan Pryor, who has an 82 PFF grade, a guy who's an absolute speedster, right? Kind of the total opposite of Jaden Ball. A guy who I think his pass grade's not great, his pass blocking, but if you get him in open space, dude, he can make guys miss. Dude runs a 4.4 at least. Really dirty out there. And as you guys can see, we got Duke Clark with a question mark. That rhymed. We got Duke Clark. I heard the question mark next to his name. Because he hasn't technically signed yet, but he hasn't entered the portal. So just a guy to look out for there, a guy who did receive carries this past season. But if Clark does come back, at least from what I know, he hasn't announced it yet, that running back room right there is pretty dirty, but we obviously need to bring, I would say, at least one more guy from the portal, some kind of smaller name just for a depth piece. I think that'd be pretty massive there. Total pins and needles to a crazy backfield. Yeah, no, it's wild, man. So, and then you got Trammell. I mean, Trammell might be Aaron Philo. Like, this quarterback room could be a lot better than I feel bad because I've been, really, really critical of Aaron Philo in that quarterback position for the Gators. But you never know, dude. He could show up and play really well. He has a 76 PFF rating, on their website. And so a guy who has gotten a lot of snaps. In 2024, I think he threw for over 550 yards passing. This past year, I think it's around 250, if I'm not mistaken. And so a guy who has seen a lot of playing time, has seen a lot on the field, and so we'll see how that translates to the SEC. But I think having Trammell there still is really massive. And, of course, you got true freshman Will Griffin there, in that third-string position. I think Aiden Warner said he's coming back as well, so I'm not really worried about that quarterback and running back group, EJ.
Yeah, I was trying to see if Evan Pryor was related to Terrell Pryor from Ohio State because I think he originally went to Ohio State and then transferred to Cincinnati, but they're not related. I was like, dang, maybe they were related. Who knows? But this is the perfect Thunder and Lightning backfield combo with Duke Clark coming in as a true freshman spell. So you really love to have that three-headed monster. I think that's absolutely incredible. And then from the quarterback standpoint, I don't know. I mean, is Philo the unquestioned starter right now? I mean, I think he's definitely got to, obviously, the coaching staff is familiar with him, right? Faulkner, our OC, is, familiar with Philo, and Philo knows the system. So I think he's going to have a heads up, ahead of Trammell Jones, who's probably going to have to now learn a new offense and all the new verbiage. But I don't know. I think Trammell Jones can give him a run for his money. We'll just have to see how that works out.
I agree, man. I think Tremel Jones. I mean, what he showed me this past season was amazing. I think fundamental wise, as a true freshman coming in there, footwork was great. You could tell that he was reading what the defense was doing, and obviously made some mistakes. But when you get thrown into it was the Kentucky game, right? Like that. After DJ got benched, you're not expecting anything too crazy. So really excited to see what he has, in this brand new system, with an entire offseason to prepare. So really excited. It's just nice to see some depth, some nice depth in the quarterback room, which I don't think we've seen for a while. So love to see that. Running back room, we talked about that. Wide receiver room, I'm not worried about at all, EJ. You have Dallas Wilson coming back, Vernell Brown, the third coming back, TJ Abrams. We got the transfer and Bailey Stockton coming in. Davian, is it Gross, who's the true freshman coming in, who's a really highly touted guy. So just some good depth pieces in that receiver room that I think could have a spark. I would like one more addition personally, and I know there's some names that we can kind of get to in a second, EJ, that have been visiting Florida or that said that they are going to visit transfer-wise. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think bringing back Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown was insane.
Yeah, you would have loved. I mean, Dallas Wilson is probably, when you talk about boundary wide receivers, on the top of your screen, this is probably like a clear top five wide receiver in the country next year. Absolutely crucial that you have a playmaker at that position if you're not getting, one of the top quarterbacks in the portal. Now, not to say that Philo can't potentially be an elite quarterback, but he's not going to be in the top five quarterbacks like you're probably going to get with Notre Dame and Miami always getting the top quarterbacks. Austin Simmons entered the transfer portal, the Ole Miss quarterback. I don't know where he's going, but he's probably going to be in the top five. But having Wilson and then Vernell Brown as that field slot, sort of do everything wide receiver, just huge playmaking abilities at this position. And then getting in Bailey Stockton from Georgia Tech. It's interesting. He was a former walk-on turned scholarship player. Couldn't really find a lot on his star level, but I think he was around a 3-star level evaluation. 40 career catches, can really play the 3 or 4 wide receiver position. So we'll see. And then obviously you got TJ Abrams. So I really think this is a good wide receiver room. Hopefully we can stay healthy. I know Dallas Wilson had the foot issue a majority of the year.
Yeah, no, and TJ Abrams, a guy who, wasn't an insane standout because of the depth of the wide receiver room this past year and having Vernell Brown and Dallas Wilson and all these, players start to make plays out there. But he's a guy who's consistently getting open, EJ, whether you saw it or not. And
Yeah.
when we went to
Yeah.
games, you would see him in open space. And so really excited, man. I think he's going to have a big year. So really excited to see what goes on here. And by the way, the starter, backup, third string columns on here, that's just kind of an assumption. You never know, of course, who's going to win it out. And this is just me showing the depth that I think that we do have in positions and the lack of depth, as you can see, as we continue down. And it's something to keep an eye on. So I personally would like another wide receiver, EJ. I think it'd be a nice depth piece. So we'll see. Austin Simmons went to, did he commit to Missouri? I don't know if he committed or not, but I did see Austin Simmons was in the portal. And let's see.
That's the question I have. I mean, one of the reasons people
to Missouri.
He went to, so
Yeah.
that's one of the things that is just so crazy about like the coach at Missouri, because I know that he was Drinkowitz, he was really big on like, oh, is he gonna come to Florida? Is Florida gonna hire him? I was like, no. Um, but he gets good players to go to Missouri somehow.
He
I'm
can
like,
recruit.
he for some reason, this guy who I would never imagine if I walked up to him on the street to think this guy is like an SEC football coach. But he gets good players, which is why Missouri is typically pretty good. Um, yeah, I was kind of, hoping we could get somebody like a Austin Simmons, but Philo. But here's the thing about Philo. People don't know this. He broke all of Trevor Lawrence's passing records in high school in Georgia, I believe, right?
Yep.
So, hey, that's who you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you never know. I mean, he could, stuff could just click. You've seen a lot of transfer
Yeah.
quarterbacks, really pop off when they go to different spots, and so we'll see what happens with Aaron, man. But either way, it's him and Trammell now. You know what I mean? Up there for the starting job. With Will Griffin obviously behind them. So really excited to see what happens there, EJ. Now, the tight end position, you have Amir Jackson, who we re-signed. Tony Livingston coming back as well with Lakota Dupree. Lakota Dupree is coming in from James Madison out of one of the three tight ends that did come, I think, transfer from there.
Yep.
So Billy Naper's got to do some work over there. His PFF rating is a 72. He's not a really great receiving tight end. He's solid, but he's a really good run blocker, EJ. So I think that's a good piece there on the line to help out when we do play a tight end out there. So some good depth pieces here. I am a big fan of Amir Jackson. I think what he showed out of high school, he hasn't really showed it yet at this level, EJ, but he's a guy who I think can really, really blow up and perform at a really high level in that tight end position. And so we'll see what happens, how he fits in this system. But I've always been a big fan because he just has, his physique alone, you know what I mean? He's a mismatch out there, on corners or even linebackers. And so we'll see what happens there. So I'm pretty excited for this tight end group.
Yeah, I mean Hayden Hansen went to Oklahoma, I believe, right? He transferred to Oklahoma. Amir Jackson came in as a top 100 overall recruit, people, as tight end. Okay, he was 4-star tight end, 2024. Athleticism out the roof. This guy is incredible. It's gonna come down to the play action game and how successful it is, which is going to depend on how accurate Philo or Trammell Jones is throwing the football. If you've got a high rate of accuracy around 70%, tight ends typically have better, have more abilities in your offense because you can get them the ball. You can't, I mean, very few tight ends are like Kyle Pitts, which I think the craziest stat is Kyle Pitts caught every single pass that was targeted in that 2020 season. It was insane.
Jesus.
I've never seen anything like it. But typically, if your quarterback is not very accurate, having tight ends is kind of they're running in windows, and they're not your best receivers. So you have to have a quarterback that can throw a catchable pass, accurate on time. And that's something that we really didn't have even with DJ Lagway. I mean, DJ Lagway had wide open flats tight ends. Hayden Hansen, overthrow, underthrow. And I'm like, these passes have to be perfect for these types of tight ends to be able to catch these passes. Livingston, I think, is also a great jumbo tight end that can really, he was a great blocking tight end, which is one of the reasons I think he got a lot of playing time is because he was a really good blocker. And then the James Madison guy, I mean, I don't know. He was kind of like a Swiss Army knife at JMU, played a little halfback too. So had modest receiving numbers, but very versatile, gives Faulkner some, motion, some flexibility. And really, I don't really think there's a need to really add another tight end with this depth that we have right now, but you never know. I'd rather go for a wide receiver, like what Reform Salt's talking about.
No, I agree, and I'm glad he brought it up because we can just talk about that now. Some names to look out for. I have a few here. We'll talk about them as we go from position to position. So since we're on the tight end kick right now, I agree. I don't think we need another one, but the New Mexico tight end I think did visit this past weekend. Dorian Thomas, 67 on the PFF grade there. So you got to look out for in that tight end group still there. I think more of a reception tight end. Then you have the running backs. I think there's only three. Yeah, the three wide receivers that we've been looking at. Eugene Hilton Jr., I think it's T.Y. Hilton's son, Wisconsin receiver. Didn't really play too much. 60 on PFF for his rating there. A guy to look out for. I think either has or already visited. That's what these names are. Wake Forest wide receiver Micah Mays Jr., a 56 on his PFF, but a guy who is very athletic and really good in open space. And then the guy that Reform Salt is talking about, Georgia Tech receiver Isaiah Canyon. Kenyon. 67 on the PFF scale. A guy who I think had 500 receiving yards this year. A couple of, I think, like 4 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. So a really good gadget guy, just a solid guy to have there at your receiver core if we do want to bring him over. So yeah, I personally really like him as another guy. You said Preston from Tulane is a former Bama kid. I think we need one more wide receiver in addition to Stockton. I agree, and I think Isaiah Kenyon would be a really nice, addition.
Yeah, and then he's familiar with the system and the verbiage and this, that, and the other.
And Philo.
And Philo, so and that's the heads up that Philo is going to have, is just that he's not going to have to go through learning the style of offense that Florida's going to be running next year, which is going to be a physical, play action heavy style offense that's going to be a lot more deliberate, but a lot more effective. Like when we see Florida's offense next year, I don't think we're ever going to, question like, what the heck are we doing? Like if we run the ball straight ahead on 3rd and 1, it's going to make sense. We're not going to do these, the USF where it's, what was that, 3rd and 1, and then we ran like an end around or some sort of ridiculous quarterback scramble to the right and then get sacked and then have to punt the ball and then let USF easily go into, scoring territory. Did the same thing against Mississippi State and got bailed out by Burrow, who I think is now at Ole Miss. Like, this is crazy. This freaking musical chairs of all these players is just absolutely insane. We got to talk about that at some point. Like, clean out my closet. I know we're both moving. I somehow bought a DJ Lagway jersey. It still has the tags on it. I don't even remember when I bought it. It brand new. And I'm kind of like, well, what the hell am I going to do with this now? Should I sell it on like Poshmark or eBay? I wonder how much I can get for it. Probably nothing now.
Whoever's wearing number 22, just add another 2 in Sharpie to the right side of it, and then change it and get duct tape, change the name. That's what you got to do. That's crazy. That is so funny. Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot going on in the portal, man. 2 guys, Sharif Denson, I think, went to Ole Miss as well. So and Ole Miss just retained Trinidad Chambliss and their running back in Lacey. So, which Lane Kiffin was pretty pissed about. So wild stuff there. We need more cornerback and defensive linemen. Yep, that we're about to get to that right now. As you guys can see, there's some, and linebacker too. I think it depends. So we'll talk about that when we get to the defense. Hold on to it. If he ends up getting right and going to the league, it will be a collector's item. That is true, dude. That is true. It's his first stop, EJ. You could keep that DJ jersey if he goes crazy in the league. You know what I mean? As a tight end. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the offensive line. If you're ready for that, EJ.
Let's do it.
This I think is the most important position group, and I think you agree with that. You were talking about that, EJ. Because you have Aaron Philo back there, in this Buster Faulkner offense and offensive line is going to be extremely key. So let's start with now. A lot of these guys could change positions. Once again, this is just what they either played most of the time, or I did it for depth reasons, or or whatever it is, or they played in high school. This is how I created this depth chart. So the right tackle spot, the side that we could not get figured out. We threw Caden Jones out there, Bryce Lovett out there. We could not figure out what to do with that position group this past year. EJ, was a major issue, and so hopefully we can get that figured out. Before we dive into the players, I just want to say we do have Troutwine now, and I have so much trust in that guy to get these guys right. And that's a big reason on why I'm so confident that this group is going to do really, really well. But let's go and dive into it. In the right tackle spot, we got Caden Jones. He played a little bit last year in that right tackle spot when they were trying to figure out where to put guys. So a guy out there that hopefully could take a step forward this year because he wasn't great. Behind him, you have a Tyler Chikuyum. I think he's a true freshman coming in, but a highly touted guy in that tackle spot, EJ. So I think that could be a really good depth piece right there. Right guard, we have Roger Kearney. He's coming back with TJ Shanahan. He's one of the transfers over from Penn State, 64 PFF grade. But when you actually look into his stats and what he did at Penn State, I have it right here. In 206 pass block snaps, he only allowed 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and 8 pressures that entire time. So even though he has that 64, PFF grade, maybe it's run blocking, maybe it's something else. That's what it is. Right here, I have it written down. TJ Shanahan, 75 pass block on PFF, which is above average, but a 59 run block. So not great on the run, but really good in the passing. So that's why that grade is like that. So a guy who could easily start in one of these positions, you know what I mean? But just a really good guy to have there. We got some really good competition too. We have another freshman, Carr, behind Shanahan there at the right guard spot. We have the center, which I think is one of the most. I'm really curious to see what happens here because we brought in the Georgia Tech transfer in Harrison Moore, EJ, 64 on the PFF. But I think he only I think he had 0 sacks given up in like 600 snaps, something crazy. So a guy who's a really solid centerpiece there. We'll see how he plays at the SEC level, but we do have Jason Zandamela behind him. This was number one. I love this guy's character. He's a good team leader when you really dive into him. But he's a guy who, Billy Napier said and a lot of other coaches said in the fall camp, EJ, that this was a guy that was really standing out. And a dude who was, just working his ass off, and a guy who could step up into and get a lot of playing time this season. So keep an eye on Jason Zandamela. And then you have the left guard spot, Kanijah Harris, who's coming back this year, previous starter from last year, and Desmond Green, who's a true freshman coming in. He played a lot of left guard. Left tackle, you have Bryce Lovett. Now, I wrote question mark here because I don't really know who the hell is going to step into that left tackle spot. Austin Barber is now gone. So you have Bryce Lovett. Maybe he can come over to the left tackle spot. Egan Boyer is one of the other Penn State guys that we brought in on the offensive line. Or is he from? I think he's from Penn State, right?
Yeah, Penn State. Yep.
50 PFF grade, not great.
Mm.
A guy who didn't see a lot of playing time though while he was at Penn State, so maybe he'll take a step forward there. That 50 is on very limited snaps, by the way. Then you have Mark Faircloth, a guy who's been in the program for a few years now, and a guy who also there was a lot of rumblings that he was looking really good this past year. So I really like this group. I think this is really solid. I think there's some really good depth pieces here. Are these guys going to play in the positions that I've listed? Most likely. But that left tackle spot, you never know. Some guys can go to right tackle to left tackle very easily. Some guys go from amazing to absolute trash when they do that. You never know. They're just going to have to mix match, figure out what spots they want him in. But since Aaron Philo is a right-handed quarterback, that left tackle spot's going to be pretty important, EJ.
Yeah, when I'm looking at these, the offensive line, why is it important to have a good offensive line? Okay. Because you can put Daffy Duck at quarterback and execute your offense. When your offensive line can't run block, they can't pass block, you cannot run offense. You cannot execute. And Florida Gator fans, we should know that. Like, it has been very, very painful watching our offensive line over the last 20 years. Even the season where we had the best shot of doing anything, the COVID year, our offensive line was absolutely horrific. It was terrible. And that was the year where defenses weren't allowed to start tackling people until they didn't practice hitting anyone until the game started. So everyone's defenses suffered. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, if everyone's defense is terrible, that means our offensive line is even worse. So you've got to have a really good offensive line. I really like, Harris at the left guard position. Obviously, I love Bryce Lovett. I think he's got the frame and the experience. And I think Caden Jones is going to do an excellent job. Austin Barber replacing him is going to be huge. And so we'll see what, Harrison Moore can bring to the table. When you look at our offensive line compared to, let's say, look at Miami and Texas A&M, who, Texas A&M, they were able to basically have the success that they had, relatively speaking, because their offensive line was so good. And they protected their quarterback. They opened up running lanes and they overpowered people. And that's exactly why Miami is also in the position they're in. Um, and it's interesting. This average offensive line right here, based on your what we have, is 324 pounds. Miami's 329 pounds. So I don't know if 5 pounds makes a huge difference. But Miami's got guys like Cooper at 350, and then Kinsler 6'6", 340. These guys are just monsters that just freaking knock people off the ball. But learning a new system learning a new blocking scheme, that's something that kind of worries me a little bit in terms of how quickly it's going to take the offensive line to gel and mesh and understand blocking concepts, etc. Because you have to think, like, an offensive line, it's a lot more difficult to play offensive line than defensive line, because offensive line, you are learning the blocking principles that Troutwine is going to want to instill in you, but you also have to learn matchups. You have to learn 12 different matchups throughout 12 different defensive lines, 12 different blitzing schemes that you've got to prepare for. And when you have like a hodgepodge offensive line of guys that are new, this guy came from this, school, that guy came from this school, the coach is new, the offensive coordinator is like, hey, we want to throw the ball. What the heck are you guys doing? It could take a little time to get those guys to gel. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly that takes. Um, I like the schedule. The schedule doesn't just throw you in the freaking fire like last year or the year before, maybe the last 2 years, where it's like, oh, first game, Miami, first team all pass rushing defensive ends that you got to block, and then you get sacked immediately when you hike the ball. So, that's going to be great because I think we open up with FAU, ease your way into the season. So that's good. Um, I don't necessarily know what the anchor philosophy is going to be from Faulkner with this team, meaning what is our identity? Is it run the ball and then throw it? Is it run the ball to open up the pass, or is it pass the ball to open up the run? I don't really know. Faulkner is very versatile. He can, he'll figure it out. But I think at that FAU game, I'm just telling you, if we go into that game and it looks like we're struggling to block FAU, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be, we have that first game, we have to just hike. They could get no pressure. We're knocking them off the line. We're running them over. If it looks like that USF game where we played against USF, we could not run the ball on USF. They were freaking getting in the backfield immediately. That's when you knew the season was over. You should have known the season was over at that point. So that is this FAU game, very important. Offensive line, absolutely critical.
Yeah, yeah, and so are you pretty happy with what we have so far? I'm pretty excited.
I mean, I think this is the best. I mean, we've got let me see, two top 100 draft picks. TJ Shanahan, who's at Penn State, Texas A&M. I mean, talk about like this guy's bit. It's like musical chairs. He was a top 50 recruit. So I mean, you got guys that are top 100. You've got a great offensive scheme. You've got a great offensive line coach who was a great offensive lineman when he was at Florida. Like Troutwine was incredible. So you got all the pieces you need to have a good offensive line. Will it come together? The FAU game is going to tell us everything we need to know. If we cannot block FAU easily, it's going to be a long year, because that is not something you can just figure out. Oh, next week let's play better. No, that should have been figured out, now. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
But I do feel good. I feel better about the scheme and the coaching than I do about last year. Because last year we're supposed to have the best offensive line in the country, you know. And what happened? We couldn't run against USF. So what the hell were we doing? I like the scheme.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Uh, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you said that Duke and Byron Lewis have already re-signed. Yeah, I mean, hey, if Duke re-signed, then that's amazing. I said Byron Lewis as well. Yeah, if Duke Clark, I didn't see that personally. But if he did, man, that is awesome, and that's
That's
a
awesome.
massive
Yeah.
get in that running back room, EJ. Yeah, it's coming together, man. It's coming together. So offense in total, EJ. How happy are you with it? Is there any specific spots you think we need to go after? By the way, there's one offensive lineman that we're looking at. He's an offensive tackle and offensive guard. Stanford guy, Mecca Ugoji. His PFF, it's 46. He hasn't had a lot of snaps to play though. So definitely just probably a piece guy. Or a depth guy, sorry is what I mean. So what's like your overall feel on this offense?
So I think at the end of the day, it's hard to tell without really knowing what our identity is going to be offensively with this particular team. So I think the spring game, are we going to have a spring game? Did they announce that?
Oh yeah,
Hopefully we have one.
I bet we will.
We got to have one. The spring game is going to be absolutely critical because that is going to tell us what is the style of play that Sumrall, Faulkner have agreed is most effective for us to run with the players we have. And remember, in college football nowadays, it's plug and play. It's street ball. You don't have time to develop these people over 4 or 5 years. You have to hope that they come in understanding basic principles and you can plug and play and get moving. So the spring game is important because it's going to tell us, okay, are we going to depend on quarterback decision making? Napier, they would hike the ball, snap the ball to Lagway, and like, Lagway, figure it out. Sack, interception. We have to have a deliberate offense. Hike the ball, run it, power football, play action, dump off to the running back. You got Pryor. This guy can catch and run. And then you got a great tight end, and you've got 3 very good wide receivers. One is a possession but explosive, kind of like he's a mini version of Jeremiah Smith. And then Vernell Brown, I mean, I'm trying to find a comparison to him, but he's like, I'm not gonna say Percy Harvin because we don't run. He doesn't, maybe he can run the ball. I don't know.
I mean, that's like Justin Williams. Justin Williams is like a Percy Harvin. He's that athlete coming in, true freshman guy. You gotta think about him in the open space, man. He's gonna be dirty. We have a lot of weapons on this team. I'm really excited for this offense.
Well, is Vernell Brown more kind of like a Tony? Like Kadarius Toney was like do everything type of receiver. And Vernell Brown, I think, gave me some flashes of that with a little bit more physicality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He had a couple drops, but maybe because he was a freshman. But that's the thing. We need to see in the spring how this offense is set up, and then I think that spring portal window will tell us, okay, these guys got to go. Now we know who we need to get from the sloppy seconds in the spring portal. And hopefully there's people still available that can come on and plug the holes. Because remember, some of these great players that we've had in the last few years were spring portal guys like Pearsall. Like we got Pearsall at the 12th hour. And this guy is incredible. Look what he's doing at the 49ers. They're probably going to win the whole freaking thing. Well, I don't know. I'm a Bears fan, so that was the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now, that was an incredible game. Anyway, the spring game is going to tell us everything we need to know. I feel very, very 100% confident, everybody, that the offense next year will be a lot more effective than this year's offense. I do not think we're going to ever have a situation where fans are questioning, like, what the heck is the strategy? What the heck are we doing? It's going to come down to how quickly the players that we've assembled can process what they're being taught and how quickly the coaches can recognize what their strengths are and be able to develop a game plan that is sustainable, that we can execute no matter who the opponent is, and then make adjustments as the game goes on. That's something that Billy Napier could never do. Okay? He could never make adjustments. He would do the same thing whether it's not working. And then when things were working, he would do the opposite the next play. And we're just like, what the heck is this guy doing? You're never going to see that with Faulkner. So, spring game, let's see what happens. I'm excited about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's go dive into this defense, man. This is the side of the ball I'm a little bit more worried about when it comes to depth. So, like I said, I built this after kind of a 3-4 defense with the Jack. This is just kind of what I think you have to play because I don't know if you have the depth in the defensive lineman, EJ, when it comes to the bigger guys. So let's go ahead and dive into that. So at the nose tackle, the big guy in the middle, you have kind of the guy. You got the guys coming back, and like I said, these guys they can change positions. I don't care. I just threw the names on here with where I think they would fit, but wherever you guys think, you can put them wherever you want. Jeremiah McLeod, Joseph Mbachu, two guys that are coming back. Really, really big pickups for the Gators when it comes to retention. After his name's slipping my brain. God, was one guy that went to Ole Miss. One defensive
Umami
lineman.
Ellen.
No. The guy that just left.
Burrow.
A guy who I was a big fan of. A guy who made a lot of plays this year. Put a game away. You have to step up now into that spot. So those are two guys there. And then you have true freshman Kendall Girville, I think. True freshman guy, big body guy that can definitely be thrown in that nose tackle spot. But just a young dude with not too much experience. The two defensive end spots on both sides of the nose tackle, you got Cameron James, who's returning, and Brendan Bett, who's returning. Backups, you have Jalen Wiggins, young guy, really big recruit that we got a couple of years ago. I think this is his second year. DK Kalu, one of the transfers we got, EJ, 60 PFF grade. And then behind both of those defensive end spots, you have the other true freshmen in Malik Morris and Jaraylen McCoy, both really talented guys. That are very athletic back there. So that's kind of the actual line of scrimmage. And then we'll talk about the Jack real quick. You got LJ McCray coming back off of an injury. Very, very talented guy. I think, was that a top 100 recruit, I think, right? He was a really highly talented guy when he was coming out of high school. And then KJ Ford, who's probably my favorite defensive player that we got in this cycle. I think bro's an absolute beast, true freshman. This is where Jaden Woods would be. And Jaden Woods obviously put his name into the portal. Jaden Woods is going to be, the rumor is he's going to be meeting with John Summerall later on this week to hopefully, John Summerall's trying to bring him back. Jaden Woods is pivotal to bring back. If we get Jaden Woods and then a linebacker, the Gators, I think, are a dirty team next year. But if you don't get Jaden Woods, you gotta get some other pieces for this defensive line, EJ.
100%. And K Woods put in the chat. I completely forgot. They did eliminate the portal window this year, the spring portal window. So yeah. So it's like when the 11th when is that? That's next Monday or Tuesday.
I think it's isn't it the next Friday? I think it ends. I thought it's the 30th.
Yeah, I thought it was 11. Yeah, so it's like
maybe I'm tripping.
This is our team. So hey, I actually like that because then like exactly what you got to fix. So, again, defensive line, offensive line is very important. But if you were to ask me, what's the most important position? I would go quarterback, defensive line, offensive line. Okay, so Woods was a true freshman last year. This guy was, Banks was injured. Tyreek Sapp only played like 3 snaps a game, or I don't know what the heck was going on with that. Woods was incredible. Chasing people around, making tackles, not missing tackles. His awareness was, great for a true freshman. When you look at losing a extremely talented defensive end, you can't let that happen. And many people would probably say that Woods, I know people are probably going to shoot me for saying this, but somebody like Woods is who's more impactful for you winning a game? A running back that can average 5 yards a carry, or a defensive end that the other team just cannot block? Which is the
Ruben
fast
Bain.
path to winning a championship? Exactly. Do y'all remember when we had Ja'Kai Polite and Jonathan Grenard and all these guys that just the other teams were like, you know what, just sack us at this point because we're just gonna run the ball just to avoid getting sacked. Okay, like having a good defensive end is completely game changing, and unless in the portal, you got your new defensive coach from Kentucky. He had a couple of great guys. Unless he can scan the portal and say, yep, this guy's definitely better than Woods. This guy's definitely better than Woods. You got to get him back. Okay? So whatever it is that it takes, whatever money you have in the little piggy bank to get to get Woods back, you got to drop some dimes because you cannot have a defensive line that cannot get pressure, that cannot stop the run. We see what types of quarterbacks are out there. Trinidad Chambliss. Are we playing Ole Miss next year?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll check real quick.
Maybe DJ Lagway might go to FSU. So listen.
Actually, dude, Ashton Daniels signed there, so he's probably not going to go there anymore.
Oh, good. Okay. Well.
Yeah. We play Ole Miss right in the Swamp right after Auburn, early on in the season.
Okay, and Auburn just got Byron Brown. Auburn is basically USF 2.0, and we play Auburn, and we lost to USF last year.
We're going to that game, EJ. We're going.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to that game. So we're gonna be playing USF again, basically, and we saw how that went last year with Napier. But anyway, when you got these quarterbacks that can, then they're not necessarily depending on running, but they can evade the pass rush. When you have average defensive ends that they just make them look stupid. Okay, even Georgia. And for crying out loud, I was like, well, Georgia's got a better defense. They should be able to stop this guy. He was making them look like high school Pop Warner defensive tackles. I remember I played intramurals, but it was co-ed, so it was boys and girls. We would have to send 4 girls to rush the passer when it was a closed play, meaning it had to go to a girl, just to overwhelm the guy. And then we had some guys that would still juke the girls out of their heels. And so we had 4 girls going after the guy in flag football. You got to be able to get pressure and make the tackle. You have to have guys that do that. I remember, I was at that game, Florida State 2 years ago. We had Anthony Richardson. We went to Tallahassee. That was the Florida State undefeated season. I don't know if y'all remember that game, but it was very close. I think it was like 45-38 was the final score. Went back and forth. We had a chance to win. We were winning the game. Then they came back. Why did we lose that game? We lost that game because Jordan Travis ran around every single play, and we had no one to tackle him. We cannot let that happen. We have to have defensive linemen that can get in control the edge, tackle. Okay? Indiana. Do you see how they blew somebody out last year? You do not juke those guys out. Oregon. Texas Tech was like, oh, well, let's go. And they sure-handed tackle. That's what we need. Now, when you look at these guys, I'm not really sure from a defensive end standpoint how confident I'm feeling with the names I see out here. I mean, maybe they'll emerge, but if you've got one guy that can change the game, that will really help us. McLeod and Cameron James, McLeod up the middle, James on the outside. Brendan Bett, what do you think about Brendan Bett? I mean, I thought he was good. I just know him because of this. He spit on the LSU guy.
He keeps offensive linemen off of him doing that.
Brendan bet. So like we
we
like
don't have
that.
anyone else though. That's what I'm saying. The depth here isn't great, EJ, and that's why I
Well,
think.
you got the Baylor guy. I mean,
Yeah, but
what the heck
not,
did he do?
That right? He has a 60 PFF grade, which isn't horrible, but he didn't play a lot of snaps at all, and I think had 10 total tackles in his whole career. And so we got to get a guy in here who knows what he's doing. And since we're talking about the edge group list, there's two guys that the Gators are going after right now. Tulane edge Jordan Norman, 72.5, pretty solid, even though he's in a group of 5. The guy who everyone's going after right now, plus Texas A&M, is the Miami, Ohio edge Adam Trick. He's a 91,
yes, Trick,
with a 78 pass coverage grade, bro. This dude is dirty, okay? There's not many edge guys that you're going to see with a 78 pass coverage. Now,
that's insane.
That jack spot is primarily a pass rusher, but they do play a little bit outside linebacker. I think Adam Trick could be absolutely dirty in that role. LJ McCray's great.
8.5 sacks for this guy. Holy crap!
91
3 forced
PFF.
fumbles.
Dirty. So
well, see, okay. So here's the thing: do we have guys? Y'all know what it takes nowadays. You gotta have that paper. Okay, you have to put the money where your mouth is. Do we have the money for this guy? Because these numbers are incredible.
It's insane.
6'4", 220. Are you kidding me? If you had him in Woods, 59 tackles, top 50 overall on 3. He had an interception. Listen, if it were me, I'd get the Brinks truck. We'd be like, listen, we got to get the Brinks truck. Marco Rubio, aren't you the Florida alum? Isn't your kid still playing here? We got to get these two guys. Woods, Trick. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, right. I agree. I think those are the two guys you got to go get. And the thing about Trick and Woods is you have a lot of big teams going after him. Texas A&M's trying to go after both. You have Georgia, Ohio State in the mix. These are big programs we're going against. But look, in this day of college football, since there is no salary cap limit, you just have to spend. And you have Texas Tech also. You got to worry about Texas Tech. Texas Tech can come in with the oil money and pull it right.
Oh, yeah. Texas Tech.
$5 million on a quarterback.
Texas Tech is probably going to get him. Just saying.
And they got to fill a lot of holes in that line, that front 7, EJ. So look, man, I don't know. I think those are the two guys you got to go after. You got to go after Adam Trick, and you got to retain Jaden Woods, and either one of those. So we'll see what happens there, man. Just two names to kind of keep an eye out for. A defensive lineman, though, to keep an eye out on. That's not an actual edge guy, but is pretty solid. I actually really like him. Is a Jacksonville State defensive lineman, Emmanuel BAUGH. He's a 82 on PFF. Bro's a British guy. He's a international. Bro, imagine a dude sacking you, getting up and just being like, "We got you, Scallywag." I'm just like talking shit. He has a British accent. That's how you really destroy someone's confidence, man. And destroy a team's morale. That's what you do. So I think we got to bring him in just to be like the designated, trash talker on the sidelines.
Listen, Brad White. That's our coordinator, right?
Yeah.
I feel good about Brad White. He runs a really good scheme, but any scheme can be figured out if your players at every individual position are not elite at that position. Right? I was going back and watching the highlights of the Georgia Ole Miss game because that was just a classic. And remember, Georgia went for it on that 4th down at like the 25-yard line or whatever it was. Stupidest play I've ever seen, by the way. Obviously, they don't get it. And then you instantly give up a touchdown, to go down by 10 or whatever it was. Now, why do you go for it? They went for it because they knew, and Kirby Smart is a very smart coach. Okay? No pun intended. He went for it because he was like, you know what? We're not going to stop them. So we can give them the ball at the 20-yard line or their 1-yard line. They're going to drive down and score. And I'd rather they score immediately with the ball at the 20 than take all the time off the clock and go up by 10 with Chambliss, a guy that clearly we can't tackle. So he would not have gone for it if he would have known they can't score on us. They can't move the ball on us. That we're gonna tackle. Brad White's scheme is very effective, but it is dependent on some of these key players. So we'll see what happens. I really like the British hybrid guy because you need somebody on third down, and we've seen third down be very ineffective for our defense, and not having a great defensive line, I think, is the reason. But also, the guy I was looking up who had the best like third down defense in Florida football history, and it was back when we had Urban Meyer and Charlie Strong was the defensive coordinator. Like they gave up basically zero third down conversions. It was like 20%. And they ran this really weird 3-3-5 zone blitz type of scheme on third down that was it defended screens, it defended passes, it got relatively quick pressure. And we've just gone away from that, I think, largely because when you think about those types of schemes, it relies on having really good individual players one-on-one on the outside and can come off the edge on a three-man defensive front and having a really good middle linebacker like Brandon Spikes. But other than that, and we've got Miles Graham. He's pretty good. But you got to have guys on the corner, and you got to have guys that can get pressure to make a third down defense effective.
I agree. So, since you brought up Graham, let's go ahead and dive into the linebacker group here. Like I said, technically 4 counting the Jack, but there's really 3 true linebackers. You got Aaron Childs coming back, which is a really good retention alongside Miles Graham and Jaden Robinson. You have Ty Jackson and Miles Johnson, the two true freshmen that came in last year, really highly touted guys. 5 stars in some instances, at least Ty Jackson was, and some good depth pieces there. After that, I don't know who the hell is the linebacker. I don't know. I was looking into it. From last year, everyone's leaving. There. I mean, Pup Howard's got. I don't know who's going to step up into that position. EJ. We picked up no true linebackers in this year's class. So I don't know. We need to bring in someone, is what I'm trying to say. Bad.
Well, that we must be running a 4-2-5 then, where you don't need.
We have to because this is.
Yeah.
But how that what four defensive linemen? Are we like, it's I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like the video game where it's like, you just need fast guys that can run out there and just be fast all over the field, Yeah. Maybe that's what we're trying to do. But, I like Aaron Childs, and, we got Aaron Childs and Miles Graham. That's kind of your anchor. And then what about this Jaden Robinson guy?
He's played a lot of games last year. He's really solid.
Yeah, I mean, wait, he's number 29, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he was really, really good. So I think those 3 guys right there give you sure-handed linebackers. Meaning sure-handed meaning when they grab you, they can bring you down. Because so many years we've had linebackers that when they get their hand on you, it's like the guy's still running, and I'm like, aren't you a 230-pound freaking? The linebacker should be the strongest people on the field. Okay, the issue with us is Jaden Baugh is the strongest guy on the team, so it should be the other way around. And then I think we'd have a formidable defense. But I think defenses have evolved from having big physical linebackers to needing guys that are a little bit smaller, a little bit faster, can cover mobile quarterbacks or, spy mobile quarterbacks, but then also defend the pass pretty well too. So that's the type of need that you need. And so if you can get kind of like a hybrid safety style guy that can, like and maybe we'll get to DBs here soon, but who's the safety at I think he played for like the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
for the Seattle Seahawks for a while. Um, and then the guy played for the Florida State player Ramsey. You
Yeah.
remember him?
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, yeah.
Yeah, like a big physical safety that can like look like a linebacker, but he's really a safety. Like those are the type of guys
Mm.
that maybe we can infuse because you're defending these spread offenses now, like Tennessee. Look at Tennessee. We could well, typically we can play against them, but when they're spreading you sideline to sideline and putting a lot of pressure on your linebackers to cover slot receivers, and we don't switch, it's an issue. So I think we got three good linebackers right now. I think LJ McCray is probably sort of like a hybrid jack type of situation going on there. I don't think he's physical enough to really be on the line of scrimmage, at least from what I saw this year. And then Ty Jackson, we'll see what happens from him, but he seems like just a guy that'll come in if we have an injury.
Yeah, very, very talented. So I'm excited to see him step up if he does, in fact, do that. And at the jack position, like I said, you got KJ Ford there, who I love coming out of that last class.
Yeah.
Now, the reason a 4-2-5 I don't even like, EJ, is because you look at this DB group, there's not a lot of depth here either. Rob brought up a great point in the comments and said you lose Denson and Gates, and I agree. Those are two big guys that you lose. We could really use Sharif Denson in this group, EJ, and could really use Aaron Gates as well. Because right now at the defensive back position, we got Kermani McLean and Dijon Johnson. Both those guys, are going to be the anchors when it comes to this pass defense that we're going to be presenting here, and the defensive back group. After that, you have Javari Flowers coming back, which is a really good retention, and then you have this true freshman CJ Brona, I think. True freshman coming in. I think he's our highest rated. Yeah, I think he's one of our highest rated guys coming in this class, and definitely our highest rated DB coming in. And on the other side, you have Ben Hanks III, right? A guy who is maybe coming back. A guy who I don't think signed yet. I don't know. Earlier when we were talking about guys who are coming back, when they said that that Duke Clark was coming back, I can't remember if they said no, they didn't. I don't know if Ben Hanks is signing or not. We need him to sign, though, because as you can see, the defensive back group is a little bit sketch. Maybe we can bring over some safeties because our safety group, I think, is really solid. You have DJ Coleman, the transfer from Baylor with a 70 PFF, really solid guy. Bryce Thornton, who we both really love, coming back to the safety. That's retention there. Drake Stubbs coming back. Lagonza Hayward coming back. With CJ Hester and Dylan Purter coming in, both as true freshmen. Both very talented dudes. So, I mean, I'm excited for the safety group. Defensive back and linebackers, though, we got to get some guys in there, specifically DBs.
Yeah, I think we're targeting this Cam Dooley guy from Kentucky. I believe he is and he's that type of player that I was just talking about. 6'2", 200 pounds, linebacker / safety style. He was an athlete. They said it was a 4-star ATH. From the 2024 class, 30 tackles, had an interception, forced fumble recovery as a sophomore. So, and then Brad White understands them. And Kentucky typically plays a very solid defensive style. So if you can get him, that would be great. But yeah, when you look at these corners, McLean and Dijon Johnson, I think is a solid foundation. Right. But if we've learned anything from the last 2 years, our foundation isn't too solid. These guys are like, they're like made of glass back there. They do one tackle and they're out for the year. So you need to have some depth. I'm hoping that the strength and conditioning and the style of play that we're instilling is not going to be lending itself to all these injuries that we've seen in the defensive backfield the last 2 years. I don't know what the heck that's all about, but Ben Hanks, Flowers, and DJ Coleman, I think, are sort of, I wouldn't say above average. I'd say that they give us at least an average defensive, defensive backfield behind McLean and Dijon Johnson. But if you can get Cam Dooley, I think he'll bring some experience in there. And then you also have Bryce Thornton. So that other safety now Thornton typically plays free safety, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Because
so
he's always flying around back there. So
yeah, so you probably are going to need, and you bring in Coleman from Baylor. Maybe that's your other, strong safety. Brad White typically likes to play like a two deep, umbrella style. But Dooley doesn't really strike me as a guy that's more, coverage. He's more of like a around the line of scrimmage type of person or player. Um, So we'll see. It depends on the style of defense that
yeah.
Brad White wants to play, which is why that spring game is going to be fascinating.
Joe Patterson, great point here. That's where Rusty White, yeah, will be. What's his last name? Is it Witt? I think it's Witt. But yeah, it will be very important. I agree. I totally agree. He's got to make sure that no injuries. Our injury list isn't the preamble. So hopefully that changes this year. Also some news, former East Carolina running back London Montgomery is set to visit Florida on Thursday. So that can kind of be that running back that we were wanting earlier, EJ, that we were talking about. Good depth piece there. He rushed for 742 yards this past season, with averaging 5 yards a carry and 7 touchdowns. So just saying, very talented 4-star guy coming out of high school, a lot of yards there at ECU. We could have an insane backfield. So very excited to see what happens there. All right. So EJ, just before we dive into, I know we got to wrap it up here soon. Because we still got to make our picks for the semi playoffs. What's your overall feeling on the offense and defense? And actually, let's talk about special teams real quick. I have that there too. We just brought in the kicker and punter from Tulane. The kicker Patrick Durkin and the punter Alec Clark. Both these guys were first team AAC guys. The kicker in Durkin, he was 41 of 41 on PATs and 25 of 28 on field goals this year with a long of 52. And so a guy who is very, very consistent. And we have a punter coming in, Alec Clark from Tulane, also first team, if I'm not mistaken, AAC. He had 48 punts for 2,200 yards and 5 touchbacks and a long of 70. So he just hit an absolute bomb in one game and let it roll. So guys who are really solid. And that kicker, I think, is an elite kicker. I think that's a really good guy to bring in there, EJ. Hopefully this punter's a little bit better, though, than what Doman presented with us last year. So
yeah, kickers. You can get kickers from the group of 5. That's fine. And these guys, Durkin was really good. I mean, he rarely missed and has range. Nowadays, 50-yard field goals are the old like 40. Like you got to be able to kick these 50-yard field goals nowadays. And Clark, punting is very field position. Okay. So there you go.
There you go. All right. Well, there you go. Like I said, what I still want to see is I wouldn't mind that running back commit with Montgomery bringing him over. Would not mind another receiver. Maybe get another tackle. A true tackle would be really nice on the line. And then I wouldn't mind a linebacker and a DB and any kind of depth on the defensive line. So I think there's still some spots we need to work on, EJ, going forward.
Yeah, and I'll just say real quick, my number one priority if I was Sumrall, okay, which I'm not. I wish I was because I'd make $7.5 million. Is you got to get guys that can rush the passer. So I know they're meeting with Woods. He's trying to get him back, and that's for a reason. You can't let that guy go. And then you got to get this guy from Miami of Ohio, Trick. If you can get both those guys, I'm telling you, I got a whole different. Now they can get injured and then like be out for the year, but I've just got PTSD from just watching us the last 2 years. It's like you breathe on someone and they're out for the year. But if you can get those two guys, prioritize them, I have a really good feeling about being able to set up a defense around guys that can rush the passer.
Yep, 100%. And Joe Patterson, I agree with you there, brother. All right, and also get Jaden Woods, please, 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 please. All right, let's dive into the. Is there anything else you want to talk on that, EJ, before we dive into these semifinal picks real quick?
Now we'll just see where we end up. We've got 5 more days of portal chaos. But yeah, the transfer portal.
It actually ends on the 16th, so we have another week and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
it's gonna get crazy.
We'll probably talk about just the portal in general and what changes because it's iterative. They're gonna probably make some changes. It is very chaotic. Like I can't imagine being a coach right now. I feel like back in like the intramural days at UF where it's like you just repick your team every year and then maybe you get like 2 or 3 people return and then it's just like, okay, you can be on my team, you can be on my team, you can be on my team. That's basically what it is. And so then you have to think strategically, what is the differentiating factor? Because back in the day when you had Nick Saban, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to hoard all the talent because no one can leave with the transfer portal. And we're just going to perfect every position will be the best position group in the country. And that's how we beat teams. We're just better at every position. Now you don't really have that opportunity. So the strategy is, what are the most important positions in football and how can we just be better than everyone? It's quarterback and defensive line. And you look at Miami. Look at these teams that are in the freaking national playoffs. They got great quarterbacks and they got defensive lines that tackle you. Okay? They don't run around missing tackles. So that's the strategy. Now, the thing is with Philo, we're going to have to protect him. We're going to have to run the ball and do what Texas A&M did. So we'll see what happens. But it'll be fascinating over the next few months.
Very fascinating. All right, let's get into these semifinal picks real quick, man. We got the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, EJ. Number 10 Miami, who's favored by 3.5, versus number 6 Ole Miss, man. Ole Miss, both these teams coming off of great wins. Miami getting a phenomenal win against Ohio State, just wild. And then you have number 6 Ole Miss, who had, in my opinion, one of the greatest games you'll see against Georgia. Georgia takes another heartbreaking loss in the playoff, just to not make it to the semis this time, EJ. I mean, look, the way Trinidad Chambliss, you kind of mentioned it earlier, the way Trinidad Chambliss looked against Georgia was unbelievable. This guy, they could not sack him. They couldn't bring him down. He was throwing bombs down the field, keeping plays alive. They were able to run the ball. I think they had 2 receivers over 100 yards receiving in that game, EJ. Just unreal play by him. What fuels Miami is this defensive pass attack or pass rush, which is obviously led by Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain is one of the best pass rushers we've seen in college football in a long time. He is elite. He's going to be an NFL pass rusher for a long time. You know, what I'm a little worried about here is Charlie Wise Jr. will get creative. Charlie Wise Jr. will get the ball to his playmakers, even if Ruben Bain is in the face of Trinidad every single play. Because Ruben Bain also does not let quarterbacks get away from him. When he gets his hand on someone, they're coming down. Dude has insane strength. I think they're going to figure out ways to get away from Ruben Bain. Ohio State passed for almost 300 yards against Miami, even though Miami did beat them. Miami secondary, other than a few good players back there, is susceptible to plays down the field. And Ole Miss has a run attack and the passing attack. I think Ole Miss is going to straight up beat Miami.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing. No one listened to our picks because we were terrible.
Last week we went 3-9 and 4-8, so it's great.
Well, the Gators went 4-8, so you know. But here's the thing. Whoever you think is going to win, just pick the opposite. And that's how you would have been 9-3 if you would have did that. Just think about that. So here's the thing. I always say the first step is looking at which team has the better quarterback and then which team has the better defense. And if there's one team that has both, That's the team I always pick. Now, when you look at these two matchups, okay, man, it is very close. Now, I would give the slight edge at quarterback to Ole Miss in this game with Chambliss.
Major edge,
Now,
in my opinion.
see, that's what people want. People want to say Carson Beck is trash. He can't do anything. The guy's 75% completion. He's 75% completion. Chambliss is 65. So Carson Beck, hey, this guy's pretty good. All he does is win games. Now, can he win the close games? I don't know. Had 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That was incredible. I give the slight edge, though, to Chambliss. But where I give Miami the edge is defense. Ole Miss's offense, I think, is going to rely. They are going to have to run the football a lot in this game just to keep Miami honest from pass rush. Ruben Bain, Mizador, Moten, those 3 guys. See, that's what you just need. 3 guys. You got 3 guys. Wait, who was that guy at FSU that was number 4? Vassar. You remember that guy? Like 2 years ago, they went 13-0. They had 1 player on their whole defense, and he just freaking wrecked everyone.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember his. I knew you were talking about though. Yeah.
Vecna. That's what Vecna. I'll just call him Vecna from Stranger Things. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, he was the one pass rusher. Bro is so dirty.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you just need 1 guy. Anyway, can Miami's rush defense keep Kewan Lacey and the quarterback under control in early downs? Okay. And can Miami's offensive line protect Beck? Because, Beck is kind of like a sitting duck back there. Now, he can run a little bit. Centurion Perkins and Uman Mielen. Uman Mielen wants redemption. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to go with Miami in this game. I just think the Ole Miss magic is sort of at its wit's end here. And I think the Miami offensive line and defensive line are going to be the clear advantage in this game. And I think when you look at that Ohio State game, Ohio State is a more advanced Ole Miss, pretty much, with a better defense. And Miami had a pretty easy little time, like, moving the ball against them. I like, all these names are Tony from Miami.
Number 10. And he had a bad game against Ohio State. He did not step up.
Yeah, I just think Ohio State, they just knew that he was going to be they throw him the ball all the time, so just double team him. I don't think Ole Miss can do that. So I think this is going to be another classic. It's going to be a very close game. Give me Miami 31-27. They're going to get an interception, some kind of crazy play that is an avalanche that gets them the win. Close. Look at that. Look at that. How close is that? Nano plank. That's how close it'll be.
That's what she said. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. We got number 5 Oregon versus number 1 Indiana. Number 1 Indiana favored by 3.5. EJ, you pick first on this one.
All right. So again, who's got the better quarterback? Who's got the better defense? That's why these teams are in the freaking Final Four. They got great quarterbacks and great defenses. Hello, Sumrall. I hope Philo can do a Mendoza out there, because that's what we're going to need. Anyway, Mendoza, Heisman. He's won the freaking Heisman. Okay, 3,100 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. That's it. That's incredible. Now, Dante Moore is 28-8 with a 72% completion percentage. Both these guys are 70% completion. It's insane. Mendoza gives you 256 yards rushing with 6 rushing touchdowns as well. Okay? Now, here's the deal. I do think that Indiana is a little bit more versatile in their ways that they can beat you than Oregon is, at least from what I've seen in the big games. Indiana, like that Penn State game, that was a crazy game. Indiana was able to find a way to win late in that game when it was like, there's no way they're going to win this game. Same with Ohio State and etc. Oregon is also a team that can flex and find ways to win, but I think Indiana is a little bit better in that way. And I like the Indiana defense to control the Oregon offense from making big plays. I was reading some stat the other day where I think it was like 2/3 of Oregon's touchdowns come off of drives where they had like a 20-yard play or more, which I guess that's the same for anyone. But if Indiana can stop them from getting 20, 25, 30-yard passes, Oregon's probably not going to score. And then when Indiana gets the ball, that's how they avalanche you. They stop you. Well, I guess that's how anyone avalanches anyone, but they stop you completely. You have no answer, and then you can't stop them. I'm going to Indiana. I think it's going to be close. But then Indiana, game-sealing touchdown at the end, 31-20. Who's your daddy? Signetti.
Google me. You know, a lot of people, you ask Kirby Smart what the hardest thing to do in college football is, and he'll tell you, keep your players out of driving cars when they're drunk. But the second thing is he'll say that beating a team twice is the toughest thing to do. He's rarely been able to do that, as you could tell what happened this season. Same thing happened a couple seasons ago. And can Indiana beat Oregon twice? This is the rematch, right? Indiana Indiana got the win. I think they went into Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, and got the win. They did a really, really good job stopping Oregon's running attack, which led them to winning that game, which led to Dante Moore taking risks, which is why he threw, I think, 2 interceptions in that game. Oregon's already had trouble in other games running the ball. I think they're not going to figure out what the hell, how to run the ball in this game either. I mean, look what Indiana, I know Alabama can barely run the ball anyway, but look what they did against them. I think Alabama had like 20 rushing yards or something in that. It was ridiculous. They're not going to have 20. I think they might have maybe 70 rushing yards in this game. Oregon will. I think they had 84 in the first matchup. And Dante Moore's going to have to take risk. I agree. It's going to come down to that last second. But here's one thing about Indiana and Mendoza. Mendoza is a clutch player. This dude's one of the most clutch quarterbacks I've seen in a long time. I think he's going to clutch up in this game. I think Indiana will win. Now, EJ, do you think Indiana's going to cover that 3.5?
Yes. Indiana.
You think they cover?
They pull away in the second half. Oregon's like, oh, we're right there. They close the door. No, sir. Sorry. Phil Knight, you're going to have to do better than that, buddy. Indiana. Cover.
Listen, EJ, I think right now, postseason all time, you're 13-23, I'm 11-25. Ignore those records. You're up 2 games on me. We've already picked opposite. I got to pick opposite again. I think that Indiana will win and cover, but I'm going Oregon. I think Oregon's going to make it rough.
No!
I think it's going to be dirty, and I think that Oregon's gonna get in there, and Indiana will win. I think money line, Indiana's got it. Spread, I'm picking Oregon, man. So there's our picks for the 2 semifinal games, man. Very excited for that, EJ. I know you got to get out of here, man. We appreciate you guys watching this, though. Subscribe, like, comment down below. Anything you guys want to talk about, we're there. We respond. It's always a good time. So yeah, just make sure you guys, we're always here to interact. Right, EJ? We're always here, man. Or DM us on our Instagram.
We love you guys.
Yeah. As long as you're not Texas A&M fans. But we appreciate you guys, man. We're going to have a new logo drop here in a little bit, man. New rebrand for 2026. Y'all be ready for that. Very excited to show you guys that, man. Next show, I'm going to be in a different place. So it's going to look a lot different, man. It's going to be very cool. Probably will be a bear background, though. So Not gonna be too crazy. But I know you gotta get out of here, man. We appreciate you guys watching us. EJ, any last words you gotta say to everybody?
We love you guys. The Gator basketball team. I'm trying to, here's our national champ. We got to beat Georgia today. Can you believe that I'm saying that? We used to beat them like a drum in basketball, but we play them in a few hours. It's a must win. It's a must win. If we don't win this game, it's like we're probably not even gonna make the tournament at this point. Like we lost too many games. We gotta win. We gotta win. Then we play Tennessee on Saturday. Interesting next 2 games. Like and subscribe. Let us know. We'll let you know how we think we did.
I love it. Appreciate you guys, man. Subscribe, like EJ said. We'll see you next week, baby. Go Gators.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown.
Blitz coming off the edge.